I'm Jackie Amos. I reside at number 10 Texoma Court with my husband Ed. We've been here approximately 10 years. And I agree with all that's been said previously. We are concerned about Hickory Creek Road and the impact it will have on travel in and out of the community, because it has become a major thoroughfare for most of us living in that community. We're very concerned about the pond, because it is the drainage pond for that subdivision, and when we bought here 10 years ago, that's what Standard Pacific told us, and we felt very comfortable with our decision to live here in Hickory Creek. Another concern I have are the services that we have with the city, the impact that it would have on our police, fire department, and just our general services that we have within the community with growth. And I agree with Letta about the 43 houses that you're looking at putting into that area, plus the impact of those homes over that pond, about the shifting soil and all of that that could come into play in the years to come. But finally, I'm going to use the word choice, because we made choices to live here in Hickory Creek. We felt very comfortable about our decision 10 years ago. And it was for the rural feeling that we have, because we do work in Dallas and travel out here to Hickory Creek, and we know about the traffic and all of that. But as the Planning and Zoning Committee, I would ask you to consider our quality of life and what we have given to you as a community, and what we want to see continue in this community to have a positive impact on the area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Taylor.
Hello, my name is Lori Taylor. I live at 238 Barkley Drive, and I'd like to thank the board for everything you do for our community. We really appreciate it. Thank you for sitting here. I'm a professional real estate agent, and I've sold many houses in the area. I'm a native of the area. I've lived here all my life. And my husband and I downsized and sold our horse property in Argyle 2 years ago. And my first choice was Highland Village, and I started looking, and I said, you know, I just can't live here. I looked at Flower Mound, and I looked at Hickory Creek, and I said, you know, I like this little town. It feels good. It feels like home to me. And so I moved here. And before that, I've sold many clients' homes here. And the thing they tell me they like about this area is, you know, Hickory Creek is beautiful. And that's what it's got going for it, because every town has a Walmart and a drugstore and all that good stuff. But Hickory Creek is by the lake, and it's beautiful. It's really special. And so when I moved to my house, I really felt like I was in a good place. And I still do. I'm not saying I don't, but I'm really concerned about the drainage in my neighborhood, because out in Argyle, we didn't have great drainage, not always. There were bar ditches and that sort of thing. And when I came into the neighborhood, I looked at all that Standard Pacific had done, and obviously I'd sold in there as they were developing the neighborhood all along. And I have to tell you that I felt really comfortable, but I'm now a little bit nervous. And I know how developers work. I've worked for one, and before I sold real estate. And I understand that everybody's got to have their bottom line, their bottom dollar, and so on and so forth. But I've also been on the unfortunate side of transactions before. As a matter of fact, there was a house in our neighborhood, I believe it was on Whitley Drive, that was built over a pond that sank, and the developer had to buy it back. And I'm not an engineer, and I don't want to pretend to be one. But I have great concern about this development. And another thing, when I bought my house, I came up here to City Hall, and I looked at the zoning on that property. And that's what I accepted is what it is. And I don't want that changed. I'm opposed to changing the zoning on that property. So thank you very much.
Randy Taylor.
My name is Randy Taylor. I live at 238 Barkley Drive. I'd like to thank the community for your time today. I oppose this project in its current form. I'm concerned about drainage running around my house. captain of the local fire department. My station is first along with the Lake City Fire Department when all struck at fire in this area. I'm concerned for the safety of residents and the responding firefighters in development like this. The Unified Development Code calls for 20 or less homes on all new developments with a cul-de-sac that only has one way in and one way out. And any of those 20 homes that are over 600 feet from the beginning of the street must have an automatic fire suppression system. The 2009 International Fire Code is also very similar to this. The proposed plat has a total of 43 homes, so twice the amount allowed. And approximately 27 of these are over 600 feet in distance. The reason for this is obvious. It is difficult to organize a rescue of an adult or child in a house fire when it is congested. Congestion is hard to get to. It is very dangerous to fight a fire in an area that is dead-ended and can only be approached with equipment from the direction. It makes it difficult to stretch stack lines to the fire and to get the expected fire flow to the burning structure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kirk Howard.
I'll forego my time, sir. Points have been adequately made.
Thank you, sir. Lisa Brolzman.
For allowing us all to speak. I am a recent move to Hickory Creek. I've lived here about a year. I actually moved here on the basis of a photograph. I bought my house on Zillow. I didn't even see my house when I bought it, but I saw the property and I saw the surrounding area. I read about the community, and I was impressed enough to purchase this home and move here. I would say that the pond certainly has an important part of that, because that I with several of my neighbors live directly onto that. I will sit and enjoy the wildlife. Matter of fact, there's some baby ducks on the pond at the moment that we have a family of ducks that I believe are there year-round. So I am concerned, and I would hope that prior to this being approved, there would be some kind of environmental impact study that not only about the drainage, but about the wildlife and about everything that's on that property. One of the things that I know about Hickory Creek is this is a Tree City, USA. I'm concerned how many of those lovely old growth trees will be cut down in order to cram 44 homes on this property. What I see being that those are replaced with are things like red repairs that what I've seen lately is they get knocked down every time they move. That's a junk tree in place of a beautiful old growth tree that I would hate to see go away. So other than that, when you look at this property, every single part of it and every single part of our homes all sit above the low drainage point in that pond. And my concern with my house is that if that gets covered up and that property gets raised up, all that water is going to end up pooling in my yard, which then becomes a hazard for mosquitoes, which right now we have a problem with the West Nile, and we have standing water. We don't have standing water in the pond because there's enough wildlife there to take care of the mosquitoes.
Brenda Hudson.
I forego my time.
Okay. Mary Tully.
My name is Mary Tully. I live at 240 Barclay Drive. I have lived in Hickory Creek for almost 10 years. My husband and I were one of the first houses to be built on Barclay Drive. I have watched the neighborhood grow and develop. I've also watched the flow of water in the neighborhood and on the property we are discussing today. The drainage pond sits right behind my lot. I lived here when we had the torrential rains in the summer of 2007. The Lake Louisville level reached 534.02 feet in July of 2007. I've got pictures standing on the pond spillway and the water just feet from the top of the spillway. The drainage pond did its job that year. The neighborhood didn't flood and neither did my property. This is an important point because my lot sits at the lowest point on Barkley Drive. I have 2 storm drains right outside of my lot and water flows down the street from both the north and the south of Barkley. Also, the 42-inch pipe that these drains and 9 other storm drains in the neighborhood run under my property, down the side of my property, and empties into the drainage pond. Standard Pacific built that spillway on the pond to ensure the neighborhood didn't flood. The drainage easements for that 42-inch pipe and that runs down the side of my property and the 19-inch pipe that drains from Texoma and flows into the drainage pond were signed over to the town of Hickory Creek. I would like to add, my house was built by Standard Pacific. I had such severe foundation problems that there was not one wall or ceiling in my house without a crack. Doors wouldn't shut. It took 8 years and litigation to finally force Standard Pacific to fix the damages to my foundation and house. Now I have an engineer and developer telling me, don't worry, we know what we're doing. I also question the validity of anybody that comes to a Board of Adjustments meeting stating that they know there is a spring on the property, but states in the meeting held here last night that they do not know. Also, they present a proposed plat to the neighbors in this community and threaten us with, you better approve our zoning change or we'll do worse to you and your neighborhood. They don't own the property yet. They don't have permits from the court. And as they said last night, it's all about the money. Now the safety of my property and belongings are riding on false promises from this developer and engineer. I am looking to the officials on this board and the elected members of our community to help protect my property, the property of my neighbors,